the essence of HUWHOV Hampton. WHOV presents the issues, the answers affecting you and our community. This is Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson.
Good afternoon. This is Professor Joy, and you're listening to Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson. Welcome to the holiday season. We're in full swing. You're listening, because it is the first Thursday of the month, to It's the Law with attorney Eric O'Moody, and he is in the studio with us.
Good afternoon, Professor Joy. Good afternoon, Hampton University. Good afternoon, Hampton Roads. Good afternoon, the World Wide Web. I mean, isn't it just wonderful that somebody probably sitting over maybe on the banks of the Nile, they have their radio on and just checking out what's happening in Hampton Roads, Virginia. Isn't that great to know? You know, this program, It's the Law, we always like to point out that it does not substitute for an in-office consultation with an attorney who has experience in the area where you may have your legal challenge. But, Professor Joy, we know that many people have that threshold question. What does this legal word mean? What is likely to happen when I go to court? Can I be sued? Is somebody going to sue me? Just any number of questions. You know, we've had quite a wide variety of questions over the several months. And so we invite our listeners to call in with their legal challenges. They don't have to identify themselves. They can just use their first name or an alias, or they can even say they're calling for their cousin. We had a lot of cousin calls. We've been practicing law here in Hampton Roads for over 37 years and have literally answered thousands of questions, gone to court thousands of times, and have a pretty good idea of what judges do and courts do, and also a lot of the questions that our listeners might have. So we're quite happy to answer those questions for the next 55 minutes without charge.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So our number here is 757-727-5711. And in studio with us also are two students, Raquel and Holly, and we're happy to have them. I see our phone lights are going off already, so we might as well go to the phones. Hello, caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
And how may we help you?
Hi, I was calling because I have a question. My son, he stays with me full time, and his father pays me child support. And unbeknownst, I didn't know that the father went and applied for food stamps and is using him as a credit. Is that even possible? Like, how is that even legal, even though the child lives with me? And he does, I would say he does visit the father 2 days out of the week. He does spend the night, but it's only for a few hours. It's not even a full 24 hours. Okay. Is that possible?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you mean in using him as a credit. Do you?
I guess saying that he's in the household, that he lives in the household with him, so he could get more food stamps.
Okay, and do you have a custody order?
That's the only thing. We never went to court to establish custody, but when I went to when we did the child support, they have me listed as the custodial parent and him as the non-custodial parent. My son, he lives with me. Well, yeah. I have documentation to prove that.
Well, generally speaking, when a court enters an order of support, they're also entering an order of custody, because the obligation to pay support is to the non-custodial parent, or from the non-custodial parent to the custodial parent. So if he's claiming that the child is in his household and that he has some kind of custody, that could certainly be a false statement to obtain some government benefits, which is a very serious matter. If the amount of benefits exceeds $200, that actually would be a felony, and it could be punishable by as much as 20 years in the penitentiary. So you might want to discuss that with him and let him know that if he's making a false statement, it is a very serious matter, particularly when he's receiving money for food stamps.
And when I talked to the social worker, I explained to her, the situation, and pretty much she said, with the laws being the way it is, I guess they have changed. It doesn't matter if the child stays with the non-custodial parent one day out of the year. If he meets income eligibility, and whoever, pretty much like whichever parent files first.
Well,
will get it.
it could be merely a regulation within the Department of Social Services in terms of his eligibility for food stamps. And it may have some bearing on the fact that the child is with him a couple of days out of the week, or how often it is.
Mondays and Fridays, and that's from 4 p.m. to 9 a.m. That's not even a full 24 hours.
Yeah, that might be a social services ruling. You might even want to contact social services to find out.
I have, but I haven't. I like I said, all I've been getting is because the laws have changed, and he did it first before me. He's eligible, which I'm like appalled, because my thing is like the child is not there enough where he needs that. The child's with me pretty much full time. He stays with me under my roof.
Well,
when I file my income tax, he's my dependent.
Okay. Well, what effect is it having on you? What effect is his receiving food stamps having on you?
That's food from my son's mouth, and I can't get it.
I'm not understanding. It's food from your son's mouth.
Correct.
Oh,
because
you applied
yes.
for it, and therefore you're not eligible because he's receiving it?
Correct.
Okay, I didn't understand that. Well, and you've contacted social services about it?
I have. I talked to the caseworker, like I said, she pretty much said because he did it first,
okay, well, then,
he's eligible.
Well, then that's going to be the answer. That's going to be governed by the regulations for food stamps at social services. But, the broader question is a lot of people sometimes make false statements to receive public benefits, and that's a very serious situation. If he has clearly indicated that the child is only there 2 weeks and he's still eligible, if that's the regulations, I think you have to abide by them. Okay?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sure, thanks for the call.
All right, bye.
That's interesting. But I think it certainly is going to be within the Department of Social Services. Maybe we have someone listening from Social Services who might call in and kind of check in on that. That's an interesting point.
Exactly. Well, let's go back to the phones. We have another caller. Hello, are you there?
Yes, hi, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I listen to your show every month, and I love it. Thank
Excellent.
you, guys.
Well, thanks for listening. What's your legal question?
Okay, my legal question today is my mother and I, we moved into a home because I got out of the military, and we actually went through my military relocation, and we picked a local moving company. And the guys that moved, they weren't insured, they weren't licensed. I didn't even know anything about that. And they stole a lot of my things and refused to do anything about it. So when I went to Base Legal, they were telling me about the Carmack agreement. I don't understand what that is, but I'm trying to find out if I can at least recover some of the costs. For my move, I do have insurance, but the insurance company will not pay out unless I have an actual contract that I signed.
How do you know that?
And I'm sorry?
Excuse me. How did you know that they stole some of your items?
Because I had an inventory list and took pictures of my things before I had them moved.
Okay. And so when they were delivered, those items were not there?
No. I mean, they took I had two 42-inch flat screen TVs. I had a wine fridge. They took everything that was of value. They took that.
Okay. Well, I think what you might want to consider, there's a civil aspect to this. That is, you lost the value of these items, but there's also a criminal aspect of it if you can prove that it was actually a theft. And I hear in your voice you're absolutely certain that it was a theft. And for that reason, I would suggest to you that you go to the magistrate for the city where this occurred and try to procure a criminal warrant. Criminal warrants are very effective in recovering items when something which is both a civil liability yet also a crime takes place. You might not be aware, but if you write a bad check in Farm Fresh or Food Lion, they don't sue you for the money. They take out a criminal warrant. And
okay.
And what typically happens is if the person is found guilty, one of the conditions of any probation that a judge might give is to make restitution. So
Okay.
So you might want to think about going to the magistrate and just say that you feel very certain that someone has stolen your goods and you'd like to take out a criminal warrant. They're going to ask if the goods were over $200, and if it was more than $200, it becomes grand larceny, which is a felony. So that
wow.
and I think you might get either your goods or the value of your goods back in terms of restitution as a part of prosecuting a criminal case against these people.
Okay, that helps a whole lot. Thank you so much, and I'm
Sure.
going to continue listening. Thank you guys so much.
Sure, thanks
Have
for
a
the
good
call.
day. Okay.
All right.
She's got a plan.
Wow.
She's got a
That's
plan.
amazing.
Yeah.
Do we have another caller?
So many civil matters also have a criminal aspect as well. Writing a bad check is not just cheating somebody out of some money, but it's a crime.
Criminal
writing
act.
a bad check,
Right.
or even doing an assault. If you assault someone, you can recover money for your medical expense and your pain and suffering, but it's also a crime.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we're going back to the phones. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Good morning, beautiful lady.
Thank you. Good morning. What can we do
Moody.
for you?
You don't have any love for the man over here?
Hey, all right, handsome gentleman. How you doing, sir?
That's all right. That's all right. Go right ahead. What's your legal question?
Got a situation.
Okay.
My son was living in an apartment, and he wanted to get out the lease. He was living with a relative, and they needed to. Normally, you have to put in a 2-week notice, a 2-month notice.
Is there a written lease?
It's a written lease.
Okay.
Sir, excuse me for just a minute. Can you turn your radio down?
All right, how's that?
Thank you.
All right.
Go right ahead.
So, the rent office is telling him that he's bound for another year on the contract,
Okay.
but he doesn't want to stay there because there are some issues going on in the apartment where he don't feel safe.
Okay. Is it any way the fault of the landlord, these issues?
No, it's the tenants.
Okay.
It's who his relatives is living with.
I see. So what's your legal question?
Right now, how would he be able to get out the contract with the landlord?
Well, it's going to be governed by the terms of that lease in terms of if they're saying it's another 12 months, chances are that lease probably had what is called an automatic renewal clause, which means that if you didn't give the landlord so many months or weeks notice before the lease expired, it automatically renewed for maybe a year. But it's really going to be governed by the terms of that lease. So that's the kind of situation where he would probably need to sit down with a lawyer with the lease, and the lawyer could then read the lease and let him know his legal rights, because leases vary greatly. Now, I might say a strategy in getting out of a lease sometimes is to offer to find another tenant, and at the same time maybe offer to pay a month or two rent to get out of the lease. But sometimes that's something that can be done, and sometimes that's not. So, but if he has someone who might want to move in, or if he is willing to maybe even give the landlord a couple of months' rent while the landlord has an opportunity to get someone else in there, and the landlord would be up 2 months' rent, that might be something that'll work. The landlord might have a waiting list for people who want to go in there. And if that's the case, a lot of times when you tell the landlord, well, I'll give you 2 months rent, and they'll take that extra 2 months rent because they know that they can move somebody else in as soon as you move out.
Well, he was sharing the apartment, with a cousin and a girlfriend, so he's a third party on the lease.
Okay. So all three are on the lease?
To my understanding.
Okay. Well, that is what is called joint and several liability. That is, the landlord can make a claim against any one for the entire amount or all three at the same time. So he should talk to the landlord about, what might be available in terms of a compromise. Short of that, he needs to sit down with a lawyer while the lawyer can review the lease and get an expert opinion as to what his legal rights are in terms of getting out of that tenancy.
All right. Well, I'll sit down and talk with him and let him know that. And we'll go from there.
Okay.
Thank y'all. Have a great one. I enjoy listening to you.
Sure.
Thanks so much for
Thanks
the call.
for the call.
All right.
All right, so you're listening to It's Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson. This is the first Thursday of the month, and so it's the law, and we are here with attorney Eric O'Moody. We are taking calls, but we're going to go to break at this point because we have a good stopping point, and we will be right back. Keep listening.
Hey, remember your bike? Yeah, that two-wheel thing with pedals hibernating somewhere in your garage? Fresh air, exercise, saves money? You keep telling yourself you should ride it more, but then again, it would take forever just to get around town with it. Until now. Introducing Bike Racks, now available on all HRT buses. It's so simple. I mean, why didn't I think of this before? The bike goes on the rack, you ride the bus. Then, when you get where you're going, which could be just about anywhere in Hampton Roads, you just get off the bus and take your bike off the rack. It's really easy to use. It takes about 7 seconds to load or unload. Very cool. The bike is back.
Bike racks now available on all HRT buses. Just rack it and ride it. With over 65 routes and 2,500 stops in Hampton Roads, now you can go virtually anywhere, anytime. To learn more about routes and schedules, check out www.hrtransit.org or call 222-6100.
WHOV would like to thank Hampton Roads Transit for its platinum support of WHOV programming.
Mom, can I have $1?
My purse is upstairs on my bed.
It's not here.
What about your sister's room?
Nope.
The upstairs closet?
No.
The downstairs closet?
Mom, there are no more closets.
I'm sorry, honey. It was right here all along.
Moms everywhere are finding ways to keep their kids active and healthy. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
20 years ago, the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law. It helped renew the promise that here in America, we're defined not by our limitations, but by our potential. As we celebrate the 20th anniversary of this historic legislation, it's important to remember that we're still fulfilling that promise. We've come a long way since 1990, and I'm committed to making even more progress in the years ahead. Visit disability.gov to see how you can help.
Brought to you by the American Association of People with Disabilities and the Ad Council.
Since 1900, the New Journal and Guide has been a community tradition. As the nation's third oldest African-American newspaper, the New Journal and Guide continues to keep its readers informed and inspired week after week after week. Through news gathering and publishing, this voice still chronicles that no good cause shall lack a champion, and evil shall not thrive unopposed. A true community standard with the freshness every week. Subscribe today for mail delivery. The New Journal and Guide, headquartered in Norfolk, Virginia, now observing 113 years. To subscribe, call 543-6531. The New Journal and Guide, a Hampton Roads community tradition. Call 543-6531. Online at www.thenewjournalandguide.com. WHOV would like to thank the New Journal and Guide for its support of WHOV's programming.
And we're back. It's the show Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson. I'm Professor Joy, and it's the first Thursday of the month, so it's the law. I have a few announcements I want to make, and then we're going to continue our discussion. Lessons in Jazz is at Mary Helen's tonight, and it's from 5 to 8. It will be a Motown theme with the Sample This game. If you are not aware of that, you really should stop by. It's really a lot of fun. He's also going to have season 8 available of Lessons in Jazz. So that's volumes 82 through 91. We have the musical on campus called Crowns, and it starts on Friday and runs through Sunday. Please check Hampton University's website for times and location. And one more announcement. We have the Hampton Museum with their hosting of the Kwanzaa holiday and the marketplace from December 6th through the 7th. Again, check our website for details. All right, now that I've done our announcements for today, we're moving back to our discussion about rent and renters and roommates.
Yeah, this is a university town, and you've got Hampton U, we've got NSU, we've got ODU, we've got a lot of U's around here. And people quite often do rent an apartment together. And the point I made with the last caller, when I mentioned the legal term joint and several liability, is important for people who are signing a lease to understand. The landlord can sue anyone, any two, if it's three, all three at the same time for the full amount of the rent if there is a breach. And of course, when we were off the air, we were talking to Raquel about how do you choose a roommate. And it's very important, I think, to look not just at, is this person in my class, but, what about the financial stability of that roommate? What would you say about that, Raquel?
I was interested in seeing if they had a parental or their guardians involved, so that way I wouldn't just be depending on the student, that if things, went awry, I would have that backup.
Right.
And then she was also working, so that went into my favor as well.
That's a very good way to look at it. Anyone could decide to transfer. They might get expelled. Might have academic challenges, and then you got to say, well, where do we stand? But you also had an experience?
Oh, yes. Well, I room in the Harbors as well, and me and my roommate, we both depend on our parents to pay for pretty much everything. So, but it helps that we're good friends. So, yeah, that's a good factor too.
Yeah, I think the whole point is you don't just pick a person because they wear nice clothes or they're in your fraternity or sorority. There ought to be some financial stability there in choosing that roommate, and it's a word of wisdom to those who will be wise.
Well, Raquel, you said, though, that you didn't know your roommate. So how did you come across this person?
Well, when I knew I was going to be looking for another roommate, I just put up an ad, I guess, on Facebook because we have a university page for Hampton on Facebook. So I just sent out, I'm looking for a roommate. This is how much rent is. I'm in the Harbors, that kind of thing. And just waited to see who replied. And I judged it based on, some people were like, oh, I just want summer, rooming. I just want a semester rooming. I needed someone who was there as long as I was, who was financially stable as well.
But, I think social media is a great starting point, but it shouldn't be the only point. I think there are a lot of other qualifying factors that need to go in to making such an important decision. I mean, you're literally living in the same space, and you are entering into a financial obligation together that if it doesn't work out for everybody, it could mean a much greater responsibility than it might initially appear to be.
Exactly. Exactly. So there is a lot that goes into this whole process, and it's not something that you enter lightly. It's not just a matter of when you're in the dorm, you can sometimes get out of those and move into another room, and it's all with the university, so it's not such a major deal. But when you're going out there in the world and you're making some financial obligations for yourself, you have to be particularly careful. You're listening to Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson, and we're going back to the phone lines. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Hello. How are you? This is Cheryl. How's everybody?
Hi, we are well.
Merry Christmas, Cheryl. I got a gift
Merry
for you.
Christmas to you, Mr. Moody. I'm calling to tell you that all these years we've been together was not in vain, because couple of weeks ago, I was leaving Hampton, coming from the radio show, and the state police pulls up behind me, and I'm like, I'm not speeding, I'm not texting, I'm not doing anything. Well, silly Cheryl had forgotten her decals between Richmond and Hampton. I don't know where I live, okay? So I had not, my decals were expired. So I opted to go to court because, to me, that's an adventure. So I went to court the other day. And I could hear you in my head, Mr. Moody. I was like,
what was I
yes,
saying?
sir, Your Honor, I apologize, my fault. And guess what?
What did he do?
He threw out the fines for the expired decals. I had to pay the court costs, but anyway, I remember what you taught us.
Okay, I'll send you my bill.
Okay, all right. You all have a great show. Talk to you later.
All right,
Merry
thanks
Christmas
so much,
to you,
Cheryl.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, what a nice surprise.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise. Cheryl is, we've been taking legal questions for many, many years. And yeah, she does listen very carefully. And what she said is so true. A little bit of respect for law enforcement. First of all, at the initial stop goes a long way. And then when you go to court, judges realize that people make mistakes. And if you have attempted to correct the mistake as soon as it is discovered, quite often you'll get a break. So in this instance, she didn't have the decals. Technically, she was guilty. But I'm sure she got the decals probably within just a day or two after having been stopped. And judges look at that. If you've gotten the decal corrected the day after the stop, chances are it's going to be thrown out. If you've gotten the decal the day before you go to court, the judge thinks, well, you've been driving around all of this time knowing that you're violating the law. So a lot of times is, when you make a mistake, correct it as soon as possible. And it carries a lot of weight in court.
You're listening to Real Talk. Our number here is 757-727-5711. Please call in and enjoy our discussion. If you have questions, your legal questions, because it's the Law Thursday, and we have Attorney Eric O'Moody with us. Please call in.
When I checked in with the campus security today, the officer asked me, well, what are you going to talk about today? What are you going to talk about today? And I was in court, or I had a client to come in this week. There's a big problem out there right now with state inspection stickers. And you know what that is, Professor Joy?
What's the problem?
People are making them on their computer.
Uh-oh.
And police are well trained to be able to tell the difference between a homemade inspection sticker and one made on a computer. And it may look the same to us, but believe me, they're well trained. They can spot it while the vehicle is moving. So the point that I really want to throw out here, a lot of people, maybe their car won't pass inspection, and maybe they know somebody who says, well, I got the hookup for you. I've got the hookup. Here's an inspection sticker. Give me $10. Okay. Well, the first offense is a Class 3 misdemeanor. That's a $500 fine. Second offense is a Class 1 misdemeanor, which means you could get as much as 12 months in jail and a $2,500 fine for getting a fake decal.
Oh, my goodness.
So
beware.
Beware. And this particular client claims that he got it from a reputable dealership. The only problem is he didn't get that little white sheet they give you that you're supposed to put in the glove box.
Right.
And so that's a problem.
Yes.
The judge is going to ask for that.
Wow. All right. We're going back to the phones. Hello, caller. Are you there? Hello? Guess not. Call us back. We're sorry we missed you the first time. But it is interesting to hear you say that. I can remember growing up that my uncle kind of had hookups. Mm-hmm. And my car was stolen. And they took the decal. You have to understand the car was 2 days older than dirt. So it wasn't like, but it was mine.
Yeah.
And it still worked. And so he had to get the hookup for me, but it was a real sticker. I don't know where they got it. I don't know how all that happened.
And they didn't even have computers then.
No.
They,
I think really at that time, what happened if you got a hot sticker was that somebody had scraped it off of somebody else's car. So,
they're making them now with laser printers.
Wow.
That's what's going on, and beware.
Right. How about
it's
that?
It's a serious offense.
One of the other things that I wanted you to talk about while we have a few minutes is how important it is to bring an attorney with you to court.
Okay. Well, the attorney does three things in terms of impressing the judge. Number one, when you come into court with a lawyer, that tells the judge before the lawyer even opens his or her mouth that you are taking the matter seriously. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing for judges. They don't like the idea that you might just be casual about whatever it is you're charged with.
Or you're crazy enough to represent yourself.
Correct. And then the second thing is, when you come in with a lawyer, that tells the judge that you have, in all likelihood, been counseled as to the seriousness of the offense, the importance of the decision that the judge has to make, and the range of penalty as well. If you don't have a lawyer, the judge doesn't know if you know that. And then thirdly, when you come in with a lawyer, the judge knows that you have paid that lawyer, which is a penalty in and of itself, and is likely to cause the judge to be much more lenient than if you just walked in and you just say, well, do to me what you will. Right. Not a good idea.
Not a good idea. Well, we're going back to the phones. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Hi, yes.
Hello. What can we do for you?
I have a question. I recently received a speeding ticket, and I contacted an attorney who said that if I paid him, he would go to court for me and have the judges dismiss the charges. If I paid the court costs and went to driving school, then it wouldn't appear on my record or my insurance. Is that a common practice?
With some offenses, yes. With some offenses, yes, and with some judges, yes. Now, the lawyer shouldn't say that absolutely conclusively, but having had many cases in a number of different cities, lawyers get to know what the judges will do under certain circumstances and can be pretty sure what the outcome will be, such as a dismissal in light of paying court costs and also going to driver improvement school. It is a very routine practice for fairly simple traffic violations.
Okay.
And some judges do it regularly. In other words, rather than have a lot of people testifying in court and clogging up the dockets, if a person either agrees to go to driver improvement, and in some instances, I tell my clients to go before we even go to court, so that the judge can see that we have acted proactively. That is, we didn't wait for the judge to give us the opportunity. We go ahead and do it, and we come in and we quite often get the driving record to show that the person has a very good record. And yes, they quite often will dismiss it. So the lawyer shouldn't tell you that conclusively. That is, I'm 100% sure. But if that lawyer regularly practices in the court where you're going and has a lot of experience, more than likely that lawyer is telling you what you may rely on.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, it's a real thin line, Professor Joy, between telling people what's going to happen in court and misrepresenting what's going to happen in court. You know, the judge that normally might dismiss the charge, well, he might be out sick that day. And you've got maybe a substitute judge who is real tough and doesn't dismiss anything.
So really the person should show up.
The person should show
up in court.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going back to the phones. Hello, caller, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. How are you?
All right. I got two questions for Mr. Moody, but I want to comment on the last lady's statement. I actually got a ticket recently, too, and I got a letter from my attorney's office saying everything that she just stated, that you won't even have to appear in court, this, that, and other. They got my information just from the docket from me getting the ticket and wrote me a letter saying, hire us today and don't worry about this tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of lawyers do that. I personally don't do that. I think it might even be an ethical violation because they really don't know absolutely. They really can't tell you absolutely. And, you know, I tell people, you know, the reason we see so many TV shows about hospitals and about courts is because there's drama involved. You really don't know what's going to happen sometimes. And even when you get that letter from these lawyers, and you know, they're routinely doing that now. You can just pull it up on the web. You got to be a little careful with that.
Yeah,
because it might not turn out exactly like they say.
They said, yeah. And my two questions are: they have the new thing called LIDAR. What is LIDAR, and how does it hold up in court?
You know what? I was reading something about that. Give me a little bit more background on the LIDAR.
All I know is LIDAR is, from what I hear, is supposed to be the newer radar detection. To where you can't say that it wasn't working. I know before I had got tickets in the past that you would come to court, and if the police officer didn't have the calibration for the radar stuff would get thrown out and stuff like that.
Well, that's still the law in Virginia. In other words, the officer has to testify that the radar was tested and was operating properly before the stop and after the stop. That's still the law in Virginia, even with LiDAR.
Okay.
They have not changed. They have not changed that.
All right.
There is a new form of radar that is, more sophisticated. We have, increasing technology, and some people are still even surprised when they see that a police officer can clock you with radar while moving in the opposite direction. But they certainly can, and they do.
Yeah.
Okay. But thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Professor Joy, they still have to say that it's operating properly before and after the stop. And interestingly, also, with regard to speeding tickets, this is just another one for our listening audience. They also have to testify that the speed limit was posted.
The police officer
has to testify as to that. I mean, it's not just he stopped you and you were in a zone that was whatever the speed limit was, but it had to be posted. That is, you passed that sign and you were speeding past that sign.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Any other news? Any other things happening that we need to be aware of in terms of the laws?
Well, there are always new laws that come out, usually July 1 and also the first of the year. Nothing readily comes to mind, but we're about to have another General Assembly session in January and February, and we're going to
see what comes out.
Get a lot of new laws each year, and it's always interesting to see what will be the hot topic. I assure you there will be something in the area of automobile safety. I'm expecting that the texting law will be revisited because there are just so many loopholes in it at this point.
Right.
Because you know what really is the difference between you dialing someone on the phone and texting?
Right.
I mean, you can talk an adult can talk on the phone, but adult is not supposed to text.
Right.
So I mean,
what's the difference?
What is the difference?
Right.
And we have a situation now where when people are stopped for texting, the police officer wants to see the phone.
Right. So that's all right, though, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, for them to ask for your phone.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going back to the phone line again. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
Great, and happy holidays to everybody.
And happy holiday to you. And so what's your question?
What is the length of time, or is there a statute of limitations on appeals after you've been sentenced?
It depends on which court it's in. If it's in the general district court, you would have to appeal to the circuit court within 10 calendar days.
Well, what about the other court, the higher court than the
general? The circuit court retains jurisdiction over the case for 21 days. And so, you have to act quickly with regard to an appeal.
If a person put in an appeal and the appeal, just say, was rejected, can they reappeal?
You mean the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals decided not to hear the appeal? Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly.
No, they cannot. I mean, you could appeal it to the next court, but that's it in terms of that particular level.
Okay, so you have to go to the Supreme Court next.
Correct. If it's their intermediate Court of Appeals. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You've got a lawyer for that?
It's not for me. It's for someone else, but I don't think they have a lawyer for that.
They need a lawyer for that.
I would assume so.
That's a very technical area, and the water is much too deep for someone acting pro se, that is, without a lawyer.
Is there any percentages out there with, like, as far as the cases being overturned when they get to that level?
It depends on the nature of the case, but most of them are not overturned.
Can you get a lesser sentence in an appeal?
No. I mean, it might be totally dismissed whereby the person goes free because of double jeopardy. But even in that instance, an appellate court does not reduce a charge. An appellate court merely makes a determination as to whether or not there were errors made by the lower court. So in an appellate court, there are no witnesses testifying. It's an argument of legal briefs by the lawyer, and then the judge makes a decision based upon the arguments made by the lawyer. So there's no evidence submitted to an appellate court. There are no witnesses who take the witness stand. They merely review the record and make a decision as to whether or not an error occurred, and make a decision as to whether or not the case should be reversed, or in some instances with criminal cases, they are remanded for a new trial.
Now, would there be the same effect with the Supreme Court as well? Would they do the exact same thing, or would they call for witnesses and so forth?
They're not going to call for witnesses.
Okay, so neither one would call for witnesses.
No,
Just,
no.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, what if that person had a public defender, and the public defender is the one who put in the appeal, but he didn't just say he didn't do a great job? So then that's when you would need to hire someone, I guess, with more experience to go through to the Supreme Court.
And that's another issue that deals with ineffective assistance of counsel. And the proper way to challenge that is through what we call a writ of habeas corpus.
And so a new lawyer that was hired could file that writ of habeas corpus?
It's possible.
Possible.
A lot of factors involved. Some of the, we pointed out at the beginning that this does not substitute for an in-office consultation.
Of course.
Some cases you just really need to sit down and talk to a lawyer.
And do you handle those type of cases?
It depends on the nature of the case. Some of them we do. Some of them we refer to other lawyers. If you want to, we're going to give our contact information. If you want to give us a call, we can discuss it, over the phone.
Outstanding. All right, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for the
call.
call.
And happy Christmas, Merry Christmas to everyone.
And the same to you.
Same to you.
People get
okay,
the
bye-bye.
holiday spirit.
Bye-bye. Yes, they are, aren't they?
Give me some jingle bells.
Oh, we have another call. Let's go right back to the phones. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Well,
I have a question for Attorney Moody concerning life insurance policies. A married couple has a life insurance policy on each other. If they separate and divorce, do they still maintain that insurable interest on each other, and is the life insurance still going to be valid? Are the policies, going to be valid?
No.
And they can continue in effect?
The answer is no. If they divorce.
If they divorce, yes.
There's a statute that changes that beneficiary provision if they divorce. But my advice to people is, when they divorce, they need to review all of their policies, everything. I mean, just because even though it generally is going to go to their heirs, that's if they have not changed it. But the important thing to do is to make sure that even that result is one which you would want. You might want someone else as a beneficiary.
I see. Okay.
Is the person still living?
Yes.
Okay, well, tell them to contact their insurance company, get the designation of beneficiary form, and name the person that they want to be the recipient of those benefits.
Okay. I understand.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sure, thanks for the call.
Yep.
I got that very question yesterday. No, I'm sorry, I got it this morning. I had
all right.
That very same question. People want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yes, they do. And we're back to the phones again. Hello, caller, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are y'all doing today?
We're wonderful. How about you?
I'm fine. I have a question about paying double child support.
Can I ask you to turn your radio down, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Yes, I'm paying double child support to my ex.
Okay, and what do you mean by...
First, I'm paying out of my paycheck, and then again, I'm paying out of my pension.
Okay.
And the way that worked was, when we went to court, the judge did order me to pay her child support for 3 kids at over $800. But then we went back to court for my oldest boy. He was emancipated. He came off, and they told me I had to pay. They raised my child support back up to over $800 when he came off.
Okay.
Then 2 years later, they went to court. She was supposed to get part of my pension if she was entitled but see, they found out that she wasn't entitled according to the military. But they changed it and said they wanted child support instead of spouse support. But the first court order said she was supposed to pay the taxes on all money that she got out of my pension, which what flagged me when I got my 1099, the military pay record, and they told me that I was still paying the taxes on it. So that made me call them again and say, why am I paying this? They didn't know, but they started an allotment without me knowing that they changed it to child support again.
Okay.
So now I'm paying more than what I was paying for 3 kids to 1 kid.
Well, and this is one of those questions where you'll probably need to sit down with a lawyer, but let me just highlight some of the issues that you have raised. First of all, I don't think that you're paying double child support. What I think is happening is you're paying child support, but you're also making a payment based on getting a divorce and there being an order of what we call equitable distribution. Mm-hmm. Equitable distribution is when you divide up assets and liabilities acquired during the marriage. And your retirement would have been one of those assets. And it may be that as a part of compensating her for a part of that retirement you acquired as a marital asset, she gets a part of that retirement. But that would in all likelihood be a payment under equitable distribution, not necessarily child support. I understand that the combined amount might be more than what you were paying for the 3 children, but I don't believe it's going to be clearly in the nature of child support on top of child support.
The court, they told me at the military that she wasn't entitled to any of my pension under some type of rule they call 1010 rule.
Well, that's going to be different than what a court might order as a part of a divorce. I have to tell you that.
Okay.
Those are 2 separate things. The military, the military makes a determination, but also courts make a determination as a part of a divorce when they divide up marital assets. And understand that retirement you earned while married and living together is a marital asset. And generally, she would have been entitled to half of that. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Right. So, just leave it alone. Don't mess with it anymore because we was only married 8 years.
Well, it may be. It just depends upon how much is being taken out. Out of your retirement, how much is being paid?
$353 per month. And
that's as long as you live. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, you might want to sit down and talk to a lawyer. That could add up to be quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But you need to bring in all your paperwork, your divorce decree, as well as your retirement information.
Right.
Okay?
Okay, then. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thanks for the call.
Mm-hmm. All right. And we are on our way to break, and we'll see you on the other side.
Join me, Doc Al Lewis, for Tell It Like It Is, every Friday from noon to 1 p.m. right here on WHOV. We will explore alternative and natural choices for a healthier living and cover everything from AIDS to zits. Roughly 80% of the population here in North America use prescription medication. But God said, I give you every herb in the garden, for the leaves shall be your medicine. Genesis 1:29-30. So join me, Doc Al Lewis, every Friday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. for Tell It Like It Is, right here on the new Essence of HU 88.1 WHOV. You name the problem, we have the herb.
Don't you wish that getting your child to eat right, move more, and spend less time in front of a screen could be as easy as pushing a button? Well, you have more power than you know. The National Institutes of Health's We Can program can provide you with tips and tools to help your child stay at a healthy weight. Call 866-359-3226 for a free We Can Parents Handbook and visit wecan.nhlbi.nih.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Alright, I've gone through all the tracks, just move through the beats. Do your thing.
All right, everyone, let's hear it for West High's own Brooke Turner, a.k.a. DJ Hook.
Scratching up my first school dance takes confidence. So will getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
Visit knowhowtogo.org to learn what you should be doing right now to prepare for college. Start taking the steps at knowhowtogo.org. Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation, and the Ad Council.
Introducing Pamela, one of Hampton Road's enterprising commuters.
See, I've invented Pam's Jam Cam, a camera on top of the house with a monitor here in the kitchen.
You're kidding.
No, and when it's not too windy or rainy or a bird's not perched on it or a satellite's not going by, I can see tunnel traffic.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this button triggers a car-shaped balloon that holds a parking space for me downtown.
Really?
Sharp gravel's still a problem, though.
Pam, what if I told you you could get to work without traffic or parking worries?
What, win the lottery?
No, you can count on HRT's Elizabeth River Ferry to take you to and from work.
I forgot about the ferry.
And not only is it a nice harbor cruise, restaurants, shopping, parks, and entertainment are all within walking distance of the docks.
The ferry, huh?
In fact, you can go to Norfolk or Portsmouth without hitting a single red light.
Gotta love that.
Check out hrtransit.org to learn more. So, Pam, what do you say?
Anybody want to buy a slightly used Jam Cam?
HRT, the abbreviation for Transportation Innovation.
WHOV would like to thank Hampton Roads Transit for its platinum support of WHOV programming.
And we're back. You're listening to Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson. I'm Professor Joy. It's the first Thursday of the month, so it's the law. We do have a caller waiting, so if we could go to the phone lines. Hello, caller, are you there?
Hello.
I guess not. Well, let us continue our discussion from the last phone call.
Well, you know, the caller raised a real important point about what happens when a person gets a divorce and you're dividing up assets and liabilities, and one of the assets is a retirement that was earned. One of the points that I want to make even off the air to him is that if his wife was receiving some type of retirement, if she earned a retirement, that too would have been a marital asset, and he may very well have been entitled to a part of that in working through the divorce. Mm-hmm. Quite often people will come to an agreement as to how to divide up these assets. Mm-hmm. If they do not agree, a judge will make the decision for them. But I can assure you that his retirement plan, whatever it may be, they looked at that final divorce decree and to see what was actually ordered as their obligation to pay to his former wife. And this order has to have a special form. It's called a qualified domestic relations order. So when people are going through a divorce, they need to make sure that they have a lawyer who is familiar with the qualified domestic relations order if the retirement is involved.
All right.
Okay.
So can we move on and get your contact information now?
Sure. When we're not here on the first Thursday of the month, we have offices in Chesapeake and in Portsmouth. In Chesapeake, we're in the Greenbrier section near Military Highway and Greenbrier Parkway. That's right across the street from the Indian River High School baseball field. The address there is 2200 Dunbarton Drive, Suite B as in boy. The phone number is 424-5050, 424-5050. In Portsmouth, we're in the Old Town section next to the Renaissance Hotel on Crawford Street. The address there is 355 Crawford Street, Suite 810. The phone number there is 399-7683. We're in the white pages. We're in the yellow pages. We're on the World Wide Web. Our website is eomoodylaw.com, and you can even catch us on YouTube.
All right. I think we have all the important information about contacting you.
Okay.
All right. So you're listening to WHOV 88.1. We are Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson, and we have had a lovely Thursday. We've had several interesting questions come through.
You know, wide variety. We talked about theft of goods when you're moving. We talked about food stamps and
who gets there first.
Who gets there first. We talked about qualified domestic relation orders. We talked about students sharing apartments. So there are a lot of legal issues, Professor Joy, and we certainly enjoy coming in to the studios here at HU. This will be our last broadcast for 2013. I certainly want to wish you and the lovely ladies here a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I want to really urge people who have not made their wills in 2013, there's still time. We've got how many days? 26? Not a lot.
Enough that you probably need to move in that direction
if
you're
you want to get
planning
it due in
on
2013. And you can maybe make a resolution that maybe during the month of January, you're going to make that will for 2014.
Yes. So I'd like to give a couple of announcements that I made a little earlier, but just to remind you that Lessons in Jazz is at Mary Helen's tonight, a restaurant here in Hampton. They will be playing the Sample This game. If you haven't played it before, please come and join us. It's from 5 to 8, and Motown will be the theme. We also have Season 8 of Lessons in Jazz available, and that's volumes 82 through 91. We have the musical on campus called Crowns, and that starts this weekend as well. That's the 6th through the 8th. That's Friday evening, Saturday evening, and probably a matinee on Sunday. But again, checking Hampton University's website, you'll be able to find out those details. And one more piece of information, our Hampton Museum will host their Kwanzaa Marketplace this weekend, the 6th and the 7th. There's a lot of interesting things that you can find as gifts there. They also have a couple of other events happening over the weekend. Again, you will want to check the website for all the details of that. And so thank you so much for joining us today. This is Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson. I'm Professor Joy, and I'm wishing you peace and joy and love over your holiday break and all through the next year. We'll probably see you again or talk to you again from this show. It's the law in February, because I don't believe we will be here the first week. Not sure, but we'll check.
Yeah, we'll check.
We'll check for sure.
But anyway, I'll see you next year.
You'll see it. We'll all see you next year. Thanks so much for listening. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson. Every Thursday at this time, we tackle the answers affecting Hampton Roads on 88.1 WHOV.
Hampton University Radio is 88.